Record. Good afternoon. We will be starting here in just a little bit. We're going to allow participants to sign in. So we'll start here momentarily. Thank you for joining us. Robin, I'm going to take you off of, I'm going to activate your camera now, I think.
Right.
Nope. No, sorry. Cannot do it.
Okay, well, are you ready for me to kick us off here, Steve?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get started, Robin. Go ahead.
All right, welcome everyone. We are having some technical issues with my camera, so you all can see my lovely picture here. I'm Robin McGill. I'm the Deputy Director for Academic Affairs at the Alabama Commission on Higher Education. And really pleased that you all could join us for a Thursday lunch webinar about the FAFSA student support strategy with partners Trellis. We'll talk to them in just a minute. But for those who, are on vacation or couldn't make it to the webinar today, we are recording this. And AIC does have a webinar page where we post the webinars after the fact. So I'll drop that link in the chat. You can share it with any of your colleagues. And our goal today is to share this resource that Trellis is providing free of charge to Alabama institutions, largely in response to the difficult rollout of the brand new FAFSA this year. And AIC, as you all may know, is the stakeholder of the student records for FAFSA, the ICER records. And we do a lot with trying to get our FAFSA numbers up for the high school graduates who haven't yet chosen a college. And so we have other bodies of work that are trying to get that FAFSA completion number up for those students. But you all are here today because we are, wanting to know from you if this resource from Trellis might be of interest to help you all get back in touch with returning students who may or may not have completed their FAFSA. And obviously for those who have completed their FAFSA, they've probably done everything you need and you don't need help with them. But for those who are behind, we're hoping that this opportunity might give you a little bit of extra capacity. And with that, I'll turn it back to Steve to talk a little bit about Trellis and the work that they do.
Thank you, Robin. Good afternoon. I'm Steve Smith, the Director of Higher Education Services at Trellis, and I'll be going over the program that Robin outlined available to Alabama colleges and universities. Trellis, we do work with some colleges and universities in Alabama already, and maybe you're one of them. But if you have never met us before, we are a nonprofit education company in Austin. We have over 40 years of experience working with students on access to higher education, and the FAFSA has always been a big part of the work that we've done, and we continue to do, and that's what this initiative that we're sharing with you today is about. Now, Everyone on this call knows that there is a new FAFSA for the 2024-25 academic year. The new FAFSA is shorter and a little different and has a little different methodologies and things like that. But there have been some operational challenges in getting it rolled out to students. And there are still, as many of you know, a sizable number of incoming students and returning students who have not completed the FAFSA. Probably around 20% of both. So we all know that there's a new FAFSA for the new academic year, but not all students do, or they don't really know what to do. So Trellis is working on a special U.S. Department of Education initiative to help colleges and universities address this issue and get students to complete the FAFSA so that they can come to school in the fall and get the student financial aid that they need. So that is the goal of the program, is to increase FAFSA submission in a timely manner so that we can act on their FAFSA and get them the aid packages they need and have them enroll in college and continue with their education. Now, Trellis will be contacting students, encouraging FAFSA completion, giving them basic instructions on what to do, what steps to take, how to get started. And this initiative takes place now through August of this year, so it's a 3-month process. And as Robin already noted, there is no cost to participate for any college and university or student. There's no cost for this. Trellis has a good track record of communicating with students using the methods that we're going to use in this program: texting, phone calls, and mail. Since 2017, we've worked with a number of institutions on helping students start college, stay in college, graduate. FAFSA completion has always been a big part of our communication. We've done nearly 20 million text messages, over 2.5 million phone calls, and over 1.5 pieces of mail with a number of institutions. And so we really have worked out how to do this with these forms of communication, have a good track record, and we're going to be using those same methods for this special 3-month FAFSA initiative with the institutions who want to participate. We have a full-time staff who have learned how to do this. They know how to do it. They know what works. They know what doesn't work. We have professional supervision, quality controls. Our procedures are fully designed to comply with all guiding laws and regulations. And we have reporting technologies that let us know how many texts we sent, how many calls we sent, how many postcards went out, that kind of. In 2023, we did a short study of just one term to see, we reached out to about 237,000 students for 32 institutions about FAFSA. These were both students who had been accepted at the institution or were continuing. 56% of the students completed the FAFSA at the institution that we contacted them about. Now, this does not mean that's only 56% of students completed a FAFSA. We strongly assume that many more did the FAFSA, but since so many of these were applicants or were applicants at multiple institutions, they may have gone to a different institution. We just know that for the institution that said, can you reach out to our list, we had a strong 56% showing overall between incoming students or applicants and continuing students. One thing that's important to note about our operation, we conduct it with live agents. So our texting and our phone calls both are done by live agents. We don't use recordings, chatbots, artificial intelligence. It is all people to people. So that's an important distinction to know about our operation. That allows us to listen to questions from students and really answer them in context. So this program is designed basically to be a 3-week outreach to students who need to do the FAFSA. In week 1, we're going to send a text message and a postcard. You need to do your FAFSA. In week 2, a reminder phone call. Hey, you still need to do your FAFSA. In week 3, a final reminder text and phone call. Simple. It does require that the institution give us the names of the students who need to do it. So you heard in the introduction that Robin said that the ACHE is dealing with the students who are incoming from high school already. So really where the help that ACHE has asked us for is to help college and universities with their continuing student population. So this institution will need to give us that information. It's going to be simple upload of information, which I'll show you how to do it here on the next slide. We have a long track record of doing this, so the schools we work with, they do this easily, so it's very easy. So you'll just give us a spreadsheet with the information we need, and we'll show you how to do that. For texting, we'll also ask you to show us where you have permission to text students. Texting especially, students have to opt in. At almost every institution that we work with, students opt in through the admission application to the institution, so or some other method. So we'll just ask you to show us where the students opted in. You know, if the students didn't opt in or you're not sure, we can always do phone call and postcard. But with texting, we'll just ask you, you know, to show us where the students opted in. If you give us a subsequent list, you know, you're going to give us a list of names. If you give us a revised list and the student's name's not on that, we're going to assume that they did the FAFSA, so we won't reach out to them again, you know, if that's the way we're going to work with your institution. At the end of the campaign, once it's all done, we're going to ask you for some simple assessment, you know, how many students did the FAFSA and how many came to school for the fall. And we'll provide a couple of options for how you can do that. So this is the list of data that we need. It's, again, very, very simple. It's a spreadsheet with some columns, first name, last name, cell phone number, street address, apartment number, if it's relevant, city, state, and zip. And this allows us to do the texting, the phone calls, and the mail. We will provide to you a secure FTP site to upload it. No sending by email, even though this is really directory information, so it's not rising to the level of you know, highly secure type information under FERPA. We're still going to ask that you upload it to the secure FTP so that the data is not just, you know, out there in the internet, that it's really secure. And we're going to give you that site and instructions on how to do that. And by the way, we're going to take questions and answers at the end of the program, but if you have anything, you can use the Q&A feature of Zoom to send in your questions. The Q&A feature of Zoom is the best way to send your questions. So the chat function might work as well, but the Q&A function is the better of the two. So just note that. All right, so again, I mentioned that it was a 3-week program. So this is a sample. Before we send any message on behalf of your institution, we'll get your approval of the exact wording. And you may want to have some, you know, small changes to the wording that goes on to your institution. That's fine, we can accommodate that. But this is the basic way we do it. It's a simple reminder, you need to do the FAFSA, it's time to do it, here's the instructions. And the postcard as well. We send a postcard, it gives them a reminder. Postcards, you know, just another way of getting the same information, but it's a different channel. So it often works to remind the student and or the parent who may look at the mail too, hey, this needs to happen. Phone call, again, reminder, basic instructions, help get the student moving forward. And then finally in week 3, another text reminder and another phone call reminder. Very, very simple. The communication is mostly outbound. So what we do is we call, we get the list from you, we call and text the students, send in the postcard. Sometimes students will call us back or they'll text us back, and that's fine. We will answer those calls and texts. Again, real people, no chat bots, anything. We're going to answer their question. And the answers that we're going to give will be based on some frequently asked questions that you may provide to us or information that is publicly available on the federal or institution's websites. And if the student needs help that we can't provide, we will refer them to the institution, we'll refer them to the federal call center, the federal website, we'll refer them to the right place that they can go further if it's something we can't do. Sometimes students do occasionally, you know, they'll say, can you send me an email with the information? And we can do that as well. We don't start with an email, but sometimes, especially when we call a student on the phone, they say, you know, I'm driving, can't write it down right now. Can you send me an email? And that's an option. Now, how does it look to the student? When the text goes out, it looks as if it's coming from the institution. So the student will perceive it as this is a text from the school. Postcards the same. We will actually get your logo and brand them from your institution, so it will look like it's coming from you. Phone calls are a little different because we will say, hello, student, this is Trellis calling on behalf of X institution. So we do identify ourselves as Trellis acting on behalf of the institution when it comes to phone calls. Again, simple to get started. All you need to do is email us to say, I want to participate. And the email address for this is FAFSA@trelliscompany.org. And this is the same email address that we provided in the invitation to the webinar today. So same email address, just email us, FAFSA@trelliscompany.org. And when you email us, what we're going to send you is some information to get started. First thing we're going to send you is a short agreement to sign. This is not a contract. This is just an agreement that says, yes, we're doing this for you. You understand that we're doing it for you, and creates a relationship or allow us to do it. Second thing, we'll send you instructions and a sign up to get your Crush FTP, which is a special FTP site that we use to upload the data. We'll give you instructions for that. And then we'll send you just a overview brochure that shows you, exactly how to approve messages and how the data works and things of that nature. So we'll give you all those instructions. Now, if you have questions along the way, you can email the same support email address, FAFSA@trelliscompany.org, and we will answer your questions as well. That is the short and simple overview of what we are doing and what we're providing to institutions this summer. So if you have questions, please drop them now into the Q&A box, or if you prefer to speak, just raise your hand on the Zoom and we'll take you off of mute and you can ask your question that way too. So go ahead and ask your questions in the Q&A feature of Zoom, or you can ask to come off mute and you can ask your questions that way too. So I have a first question. If we are already a partner with Trellis, do we need to send the email to participate in this campaign? And the answer is no. If you are one of the institutions we are already working with under some prior work that we do with institutions in Alabama, you do not need to sign this new agreement. We can work with FAFSA completion with you already on the agreements we already have. So you do not need to do that. We will follow up on that. So thank you, Jennifer. We'll follow up with you on that. Is the student opt-in data captured in the data file uploaded to the secure site? No. So we do not ask for the data opt-in field from you. What we ask in our agreement is that you have opt-in from student. In other words, that you know that if you're giving us text information for students, that that data, that you have permission to text those students. And then what we will ask you is, how do you capture that? Show us where you're capturing that on your application or something like that. But we're not going to ask for a field that says yes or no. Now, let's just say that you have a special circumstance where I only have permission from some students, but not others. Can you text these and only call these? We can likely accommodate that. We'd probably ask you to upload 2 lists so we make sure that we really have it sorted out correctly, but we can work with you. But we are not asking for the opt-in data on the worksheet, the short answer. Okay. Other questions, again, drop them in the Q&A, or you can raise your hand and I will work on those. Oops, we went too far. I'll stop sharing that for now. I think we have seen the presentation. Once again, the presentation will be recorded. We will be providing it to upload and view a link from the webinar page of the Alabama Commission's website. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions at this time. Robin, anything else that you would like to note before we conclude the webinar?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. I guess one thing I would be interested to know from the institutions, and maybe they can put this in the Q&A, is how they've been doing with their returning students. Are they struggling to get those returning students completed, or is it kind of a normal FAFSA year? And I just, that's something that we haven't paid as much attention to at our state agency level. We've been paying much more attention to how the high school students are doing, and we know that we're about 10% off of where we were last year. Last year, I think we were close to 60% completion by this time, and now we're kind of just approaching 50%. And I wonder if it's the same trend for the colleges. Or maybe, Steve, you know from some of your other conversations.
We do not have strong, those data are actually not strongly available publicly at this point. So it is a very, very good question. I do know that there was a study done by Inside Higher Ed that showed that about 20% of continuing students were completely unaware that there was a new FAFSA. But in terms of the variance between last year and this year, go ahead and put that in the Q&A if you have some information to share with Robin about how your institution is doing with FAFSA this year versus last year. And there is a question, another question directed at, and let me answer. The General Counsel typically needs to approve any MOU, particularly if it involves the release of student data. Has Trellis already consulted with the state for the release, or should we have the General Counsel review independently? So the question is partially for you, Robin, about data release. So do you have an answer to that question? And we'll come back to the other one about this year versus last year FAFSA.
Right. So AIC is not planning to release our data for this. We would want the MOU to be between the institution and Trellis because we recognize that institutions have, an ownership in a way of their returning students. Whereas with the high school students, they're kind of in between. There isn't maybe an institutional, I don't want to say owner, but imagine you can see me and I'm using scare quotes where the student doesn't belong to anyone. So for returning students, they belong to you guys. And we would want you to sign off on the release of their contact information. And so therefore we would need you to do, whatever it takes with your general counsel. But I presume the way that Steve has got the arrangement set up is that Trellis would be acting as some kind of agent on behalf of your institution. And therefore, that covers the FERPA release and that sort of thing.
That's right. So in our agreement, we will, create a relationship with you that allows you to give us the information, to conduct the outreach, and, we'll describe FERPA in that, and et cetera. But yes, you will sign the agreement so that we, have permission, and then we'll get your data from the secure site. Good. If anyone wants to share back to the Robin's question from earlier, if anyone has any sense of their this year versus last year FAFSA filing for returning students, be interesting to note that. So we'll give just another second for that. And of course, there's any other questions we can take. All right, I don't see any other questions coming in. If you do have questions, though, that we didn't get to, feel free to FAFSA@trelliscompany.org, and we will answer your questions. And I do hope that you take advantage of this opportunity if you would like the assistance in reaching out to your students about the FAFSA for Fall 24. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending today's webinar, and we will have the recording posted shortly. Thank you again to all of our participants.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.